Hi, I'm Louise, and this is the Pilates for Busy People weekly show. This week I talked to Jacqui, a business mindset coach. We talk about how we can create a habit, making simple changes in our behaviours. It's a fascinating chat and a slightly different way of looking at things. I really hope you enjoy the show. But before we get going with the show, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about our 10-minute Pilates online membership. It's perfect for those who have done Pilates before but can't now commit to a regular class. All the videos are just 10 minutes long and of all levels, so you can fit them into your day when it's best for you. Find out more on the link below. So let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome, Jacqui.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me along.
That's a pleasure. Just before we start and get into this, because actually I'm quite excited about getting into this bit, tell us about you and what you do.
So I am a business and mindset coach. So a lot of my work is around helping business owners to figure out what it is that's going on up here that translates into, so we tend to behave in line with our beliefs. So that kind of what goes on up here translates to behaviours that lead to results. So when people want to change the results that they're getting, it's kind of unpicking and doing that work to help people figure out what they need to change in terms of their thought patterns in order to change their behaviours and then get the different results that they need.
And perfect for people with exercise and how they feel about it and what they want to achieve.
Yes, very, very, very relevant. There's loads of crossover, so yeah.
So Jacqui and I were just having a chat beforehand, and we had to sort of narrow it down as to the points that we that we want to talk about, because there are so many, aren't there? But these are, I think, these are the exciting ones and the ones that will help you to take things on board and maybe help you get going with creating regular exercise, or doing regular Pilates practice, I should say. So we were talking about creating a habit, and we hear lots of things that it takes 90 days, takes 30 days, whatever, to create a habit. But you've got some points for us, haven't you, that you just think will make a difference?
Yes. So I think in terms of the time frame, the research on time frames, so like you say, there's loads of myths around that. The research would say there is no one definitive answer. So it will be different for different people in different circumstances. So I guess that's kind of the first myth to bust.
Yeah.
So it is a huge topic. There are so many things that you can do to help yourself with creating good habits. So kind of honing in on some of the ones that I guess for me, they feel important because I think they're talked about less often. So the first...
lots of advice out there, can't we, for, you know, what we should be doing, setting things up, and so the first...
Yeah, so the first one would be to really get clear on your why you want to create a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking about exercise and specifically about regular Pilates practice, there is probably a reason that has become your thought around what your choice around exercise. So it might be about strength, it might be about flexibility, it might be to support you with other fitness or sport, what have you, injury prevention. There's loads of different reasons, and I think it's really key that before you start to create a new habit, you really dig into what is that going to do for me? What's the purpose behind me creating this habit? Because it's very easy to say, oh, it's only 10 minutes a day, and I just need to get on and do it. But motivation doesn't tend to work like that, and you won't kind of spring out of bed and feel ready and motivated to do it every single day. So when you are really clear about what it will do for you, what the purpose is of building this habit, then you can start to visualize how that will look and that difference at the end.
And do you think this is because we talk about goal setting and exercise, and it's a similar sort of thing, but I always know that this is an area that people don't delve into enough.
Yeah.
they don't set the goals, so they don't know if they've achieved it. So I kind of think, if you don't know why you're doing it, why are you doing it?
Yeah. So when I talk with clients about goal setting, we talk about flipping it on its head. So the way that people often approach goal setting is they think about the how first. So they think about, I'm going to do 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily then do the work that on the what they're trying to achieve or the why it matters. So if you do that work first, then your what you're going to do has a purpose to it and a specific aim that you will be able to measure your progress against.
Right.
So you're just practicing for 10 minutes every day, but you don't have, so for example, if somebody wants to do it because of injury prevention, so they've had injuries previously, and they want to do it for that reason, if they're not clear on, right, okay, well, that's my real reason for doing it, then they may start to practice and then they get out of the habit, and it just, you know, they have 3 or 4 days if they haven't done it, and then it gets harder to get back to, and there's not a reason to fit it back into their life to get back on the wagon.
So the questions you'd ask first of all are the why.
Yes.
Do it. Then
yes.
The what, then the how.
Yes.
That wrong. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So those are the ones you need to ask yourself first before you even start thinking about your 10-minute Pilates.
Yes, because it will shape. If you know why you want to do it and what you're aiming to achieve, then your how might shape, for example, the choice of what practice you do.
Yeah.
So there may be, choice of specific practices that you will do more regularly, depending upon what you're aiming to achieve. So rather than just being I'll go on and I'll just click on the first video, or I'll go into the beginners section or the intermediate section, people will then be able to choose things that are moving them towards what they want to achieve. And there's a purpose behind it.
And that's giving me more ideas to focus my Pilates 10-minute membership, as in the videos. So thank you. Category.
Light bulb.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely start with the why, then your specific what, and then think about how you're going to go about it.
Because actually, how is almost the easiest, isn't it? It's probably why, as you said earlier, that we do it first, because actually, well, we just get on and do Pilates, but there's no real structure to what we're doing. Brilliant. That makes completely sense. So the first one is know the reason why you're doing something.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good. So we've sorted all that out. We know why, what, and how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
What else do we need to think about?
So the second one that I would say is to understand, in this specific context, your own personal motivation triggers. So broadly speaking, people can be motivated towards something that they want to get to, or away from something that they want to get away from. So it's the pleasure pain principle. You might want to get towards a good situation, or you might want to get away from a bad situation.
So for me, the obvious thing is I've probably been motivated about getting towards something that I wanted to achieve, whether being stronger, more flexible, whatever, in my Pilates. So tell me more about the getting away from.
So, and this is the thing. So your style and approach naturally would probably then make perfect sense to someone else who had that same motivational trigger. You'd be talking the same language, because you'd be talking about the goal setting and then what you want to achieve quite naturally as a result of that preference.
Yeah.
For other people, it may be more about what they want to get away from. So that might be, I feel really old when I stand up from the chair and I've been sitting for a while. And I'm fed up of feeling this way.
Yeah.
So that might be that they don't have necessarily a huge goal in terms of that I want to be able to do this or achieve this. Their goal may be phrased more in the way of talking about what they don't want to experience.
Yeah.
And
does that obviously it's a different person type, and I don't, that's not what motivates me, but there's obviously people that will motivate, but we don't talk about that much, do we?
I think it's seen as quite aspirational to be motivated towards things.
Yeah.
We kind of see that as being proactive and as really positive, and it's presented quite often as this is how you should be motivated. But the word motivation, I'm a bit of a words geek. The root of it, so motive, if you think about motive with a crime, it's the reason that somebody's committed the crime. And the suffix ation is an action suffix. So literally, the origin of the word motivation is a reason to take action. So that reason might be positive, but equally it might be the avoidance of something negative. And as an individual, once you know which of those applies for you when it comes to your Pilates practice, then it will be much easier to have that habit, because what you're if you're somebody who's motivated away from feeling, old and feeling horrible when you stand up and you've been sitting for a while, then somebody asking you to kind of goal set about how many whatever where you want to get to isn't going to remind you that it's worthwhile doing this particular 10-minute practice. Whereas if you're thinking in your head about kind of, right, if I do this, then yes, it's a pain right now, but at least it's going to help to stop me feeling that way in that situation, that's more likely to work for you as an individual. And
can that motivation change as well? Because I when I think of Pilates and people that come to classes or start it, the majority of people start it because they have an injury, or they've been advised to do it for all the reasons that stiffness, old age, whatever. But some people then change, I suppose, because they start to enjoy it, they feel the benefits, and then they want to achieve more. So can that happen as well? It can switch.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be the same person can have different motivational preferences in different contexts. So you can start with one and shift to another in the same kind of context, but equally you might be someone who more generally is quite motivated by goals and by seeking to achieve something, but it's specifically in Pilates, you might start off by being motivated away from rather than towards. So it's once you know that, it's quite helpful for a number of different areas, because sometimes it's just that things aren't clicking. When you're trying to make a habit, you're trying to motivate yourself in the way that you would for something else, and actually in that particular context, that's just not what's motivating for you.
And I just think that's really struck a chord, actually, because I just think it is really important. And if you can get the motivation right, whether it's positive or what we see as negative, you're just going to stick at it, aren't you?
Yeah.
More. So then the habit creates, and whether that motivation changes, that's fine. That's fantastic. And brilliant. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So what helps us then keep a good habit? Created this habit, and I know we all fall off it, and that's okay too, and you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, but what helps us keep it?
So the third thing I would say is look at what makes it easy for you to sustain a habit. So the example that we've spoken about before is when I'm working, I know that if I don't have a glass of water on my desk, I will drink water. So I don't set myself a goal or try to create a habit of drinking X amount of water. What I do is say the easiest thing is to always have a glass of water on my desk. I fill it in the morning. As I drink it, then when it gets to the bottom, I refill it. So there's always water there, and naturally I drink more water. I have a day where I don't put a glass of water on my desk at the start of the day. I'll get to about 11:30 and be kind of like, oh, I'm quite thirsty now, and realise that I've drunk no water whatsoever all morning.
And it's so simple, isn't it? I mean, I know when we talked about this before, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes complete sense. But it's quite obvious. So So
So
for triggers like Pilates, it's about having your mat either out if you're able to, or nearby, and never putting it away. So that's your trigger, that sort of thing, yeah.
and thinking about things like when are you most likely to want to do it? So for some people, they're morning people, they will find it easier if they get up and do it first thing, because then it's done. Other people, it might be, you know, if a mum's got to do the school run, bring the kids in, you know, pop them in front of the TV and then take your 10 minutes then. There will be a whole heap of things. It's things like, you know, having your exercise gear. You know, for some people, it's about just treating themselves to some nice gear.
Yeah.
Feels very different and makes them more likely to want to actually put it on and exercise. So and I guess probably the advice I would give is think back to when you have created a similar habit. So that might be a different exercise habit, or it might have been a time when you were practicing regularly. What was it in that situation that worked well for you then? And use that to figure out what will make it easier for you to then create and sustain that habit now.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, there's 3 simple points there that we've just gone through. Yeah. And that actually, when you talk about them, are actually quite obvious, but we just don't think about them. I think we're too, like with Pilates, we're too keen to just get on with it because we know we should be doing it, but that habit doesn't sustain then, does it? Because we haven't delved into the deeper things.
Yeah.
So I think that's, and I hope everyone else is finding this really interesting. And I'd love to know in the comments below that if you've tried this now after watching this, that if you try it and how it goes, I suppose, isn't it? To see if we can start a habit. So you said earlier there's no timeline with a habit, but so we can't say that after a month you've created a habit because there's no timeline with it at all. So
no, the research shows that it will vary by individual, it will vary by situation. Broadly speaking, the simpler the habit and the more similar it is to what you already do, the easier it will be to create a habit. If you try and create lots of different changes in your life at one time, then you're trying to create lots of different habits, and it will take a lot longer.
Yeah.
If you focus just on one and kind of really get that embedded, then it is likely to be sooner rather than later.
And I've done that this year with something else. I've made a small goal rather than making New Year's resolutions and having this whole thing that I want to achieve. I've done smaller and shorter goals, and actually I'm achieving them. So it's it's about sort of taking time and really understanding why you're doing it and feeling great with it as well. That's brilliant. And I know there's loads more, and I might have to get you back on again, Jacqui, because I know we've gone through about 10 reasons. So maybe we'll do a second part at some point. But that's brilliant. And again, yes, let us know below your thoughts and if you've done any of them, or even I think the motivation one is the big one for me today. The big takeaway. It's like it doesn't have to be a positive thing. It can be, sort of a negative thing. So I think that's really good. So Jacqui, where can everyone find you? We'll put a link below, but
yeah, so in terms of social media, I hang out mostly on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn geek. So yeah, I'm there, and I'm Jacqui, Jacqui Jagger. And then my website is www.beyondboundariescoaching.co.uk.
That's brilliant. And thank you very much for taking the time to come to talk to us.
And thanks again for inviting me.
I really hope you've enjoyed the show and got something out of it that you can give a go. Let me know in the comments below. This week's movement challenge is a balance one, an area we all need to work on. So when you're washing up or even cooking, stand on one leg with the other leg bent and see how long you can do it for. Let me know how you're getting on with the hashtag movement challenge on Instagram or Twitter. If you have enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss next week's show.